Hello, hello, and welcome back to All the Mods 9 to the Sky. What did we do last episode? Project D, right, okay. Well, we're gonna put that aside today, and instead, I am going to begin working through Mechanism. I'm not sure we'll get through all of Mechanism today, but we're gonna do what we can. We have to work through pretty much the whole mod, all the way up to the super critical phase shifter to unlock antimatter, which is an item needed for the ATM star. But we're going to have to start way back at the beginning, where we're going to be making our first machines, which we have a couple already, but we need these. We're going to need to automate the control circuits from Mechanism to make the higher tier machines and multi-blocks we need. So I think that's what we're going to start with first, is automatically making these. These are all going to be made in these different machines, except this one. Oh, let's just start from the beginning. The basic control circuit made in the metallurgic infuser, which we have somewhere at the basic infusing factory. And then I think the way I'm going to set this up, I have this whole new room over here. If I just pop down a pattern provider and put the infusing factory below it, I will need to connect that up to our cables. Once we have that hooked up, we just need a pattern for those control circuits. This first one is going to be made with 1 osmium ingot and 2 pieces of redstone. We'll have to change this fluid to request 2 pieces of redstone instead. That way those go into... Yeah, how do you increase this? There we go. That way it'll put the redstone item into the system instead of trying to request a redstone bucket fluid. If we turn this on blocking mode, it should only insert 1 at a time instead of trying to fill it up and getting stuck. We want to set the input configuration on this mechanism machine to have the input and output from the top. Although, will this work for... because we need an extra slot too. The mechanism machines all also need power. Let me try this. I'm not sure. I doubt it's gonna work. Okay, it didn't do anything at all. Okay, we may have to do this with routers instead. So what we can do is set the pattern provider way up on top of a barrel. That way all of the items it requests get sent into that barrel. Then we want the router to... we're gonna have 2 different send modules. Both are gonna be connected to the infusing factory. Although, we do need to worry about the faces. So what we need is 2 different sender modules to send to the extra slot and the input slot. The input is going to be on the front, and we're going to have the back be the extra slot. Or, I guess we can do like the side or something. It doesn't really matter. You just then want to make sure that you select the side that you want to input to. So for this case, we want the left side to be the extra spot. And that one is going to request redstone. Make sure we set the whitelist, and that way this sender module will only send redstone into this extra slot for it to be converted into fluid. And then the front one, we want the osmium to go right in there. Then the sender module should be done. Then we just need to pull from this, and we can set the front to be input and output at the same time. So that way we can also pull from it. And then we want to only pull those finished control circuits and bring them back into the router. And then we can finally send them to the pattern provider. Phew, that was a lot of words, jeez. And I think that takes care of it. Alright, so if I request one of these control circuits now, I guess I have to cancel the old one. What? 10. Let's try this. Still nothing, because I forgot to add a puller module for the barrel. And once again, we just need to whitelist the osmium and redstone so it doesn't pull anything else. And now we are good. Sweet. Mechanism does have speed upgrades for their machines. We need to get infused alloy automated first, though, and osmium dust. Infused alloy is going to be the next thing we automate. This is also made with redstone fluid and iron. I will probably do this in a separate infusing factory. So let's get this guy down and give it a little upgrade. And then we're going to do the exact same setup pretty much. And then we just set up our router and everything, and we'll be good to go. Alright, that should take care of that, so we can automatically make infused alloy now. And now I should be able to make the speed upgrades. because those do take infused alloy. Oh, I need the osmium dust too. Okay, let's set up a crusher, which I do have over here. And I don't know if you can believe this, but we're going to do the same setup again. This time we're going to make a pattern for osmium dust in the crusher. This one we only need to worry about sending one item, and we can do this for any ore we end up needing to crush. We just need to add the filters to these modules, and I mean that's pretty much it. This is all already set up. So finally, if I make a pattern for those speed upgrades, oh, I need to add glass too. I should be able to craft those now. Once we have some speed upgrades, we just go to this upgrades tab in the mechanism machines. We just put all of these in here, and each one should be able to hold 8 upgrades, we can see, which will make them nice and fast. So let me see what happens if I request some circuits now. Oh yeah, look at how much faster those are. Cool, so now we just need to work our way through the tiers. The advanced control circuit doesn't actually require a mechanism machine. This one's just a crafting recipe. So let's get that. The elite control circuit is going to take reinforced alloy, which is going to be a new metallurgic infuser. But we can also get the next factory tier installer. Yeah, there we go. To upgrade our factories to the advanced tier. Now they can hold more items, and they should be faster as well, I think. Now we just need to set up this new factory to process the reinforced alloys. This is going to be done by sending infused alloy and diamond dust into the infuser. There is the option to make enriched diamonds, but I don't know. It might be worth it because these give 80 millibuckets of diamond, whereas diamond dust, that will only give you 10. So an 8 times increase would definitely be worth it. So for that, we would need an enrichment chamber. And this is going to take diamonds and turn it into enriched diamonds. And this should take care of that. So if I request some enriched diamonds now. Cool, that seems to be working. And then we'll use those enriched diamonds as the fluid for the reinforced alloy. Now when we're making the recipe for this, we'll see that the making one requires 2, what's that? 20 millibuckets of diamonds. And each infused diamond makes 80 millibuckets. So we'll need to make 4 of these at a time in order to keep up with everything. So that way we don't get extras. And then we'll have 4 reinforced alloy as the result. So that way there's never any extra fluid in the machine. Okay, that should be the rest of that taken care of. What am I making? Reinforced alloy. Everything seems to have been added. Of course, this could use some speed upgrades. We'll get to that in a second. Okay, cool. It did finish. This is the next tier taken care of. We just need the elite control circuit recipe. Now we should be able to make the last tier, which is atomic alloy, made from those reinforced alloy, and we're going to use some enriched obsidian this time. This is going to be made by enriching refined obsidian dust. This is going to take diamond and obsidian dust. Ooh. Jeez. Okay, so I think to make refined obsidian dust, we need obsidian dust first. Well, duh. That one we get by enriching obsidian. So let's get a recipe for that. We do get some obsidian dust from the obsidian bee, but I'm going to add the recipe anyway, just as a backup. That obsidian dust then gets put into a metallurgic infuser with enriched diamond. And it looks like we'll need to make 8 of these at a time. There we go. With 1 enriched diamond, we'll get 80 millibuckets of liquid diamond. And then we'll do this in the one that actually holds the diamonds. You know what I'm talking about. Then the last step is to take that refined obsidian dust and enrich it so that we can get enriched obsidian. And then finally, that enriched obsidian will be used as the fluid for making the atomic alloy. All we have to do is set up this last infusing factory to make atomic alloy, and we should be good to go. Okay, now if I just request some of those atomic alloys, it would help if I made a recipe for them. The enriched obsidian gives 80 millibuckets, so we'll need 2 of those per, we'll need 2 of each of these per craft, and then only 1 enriched obsidian. There we go. Jeez, that was quite a lot of work. let's go ahead and try to craft up a whole bunch of these and see if it works. And then those ultimate control circuits are, again, just the next crafting recipe up. Pretty easy. I also have to go back in and add filters on all of the modular router modules to make sure that they can actually send the items. And it looks like we're good, I think. Yeah, heck yeah. We can make some tier installers for all of these to get them up to the ultimate tier, which is the max we can go, to give all of those guys max processing power. Phew, that is the base of Mekanism done. All of the basic machines and everything and crafting. Now we get to look at the big stuff. Big multi-blocks and big, yeah, processing. It's going to be fun. And by that, I mean it's not. It's not going to be fun. Step 1 is going to be the Fission Reactor. Let's get this bad boy crafted up. Big multi-block means that we're going to need some patterns for some blocks. Specifically the Fission Reactor casings. We'll probably need some of these fission fuel assemblies as a pattern. And then, maybe the ports? No, we don't. We don't need those as a pattern. That's fine. We also want reactor glass, wherever that is. Which means we'll need enriched iron. Which means we'll need enriched iron. So we'll add a recipe for that in a minute. And then we also want a pattern for control rod assemblies. I know this is a lot, but it's all going to be worth it. Enriched iron is made with carbon, and I don't think I have any machines yet that take carbon, or, well, coal. So that means we'll need one more infusing factory. Let me get this set up to make enriched iron real quick. You can make enriched carbon, but that seems like a lot of work, so I'm just going to use coal, and then have that be 20 millibuckets. That seems right. And that way, we'll need 2 pieces of iron and 2 pieces of enriched iron per craft. Now, with that taken care of, enriched iron, I should be able to request... I don't even remember what it was I needed. The reactor glass, maybe? Yeah, awesome. Okay. So, I'm going to build a reactor right here in this corner. We're going to build, I think, a 5x5 one to start. See if that gets us anywhere. Even though it's probably going to end up needing to be bigger. I guess I don't see why I couldn't go bigger. Last time I ran into the problem of not having enough of what this thing produces. So, we're going to go bigger. Okay, so I've decided to go for a 7x7 reactor instead. Hopefully this will be enough. We can go up to like 13x13. But this should be plenty. We need to build the sides out of the reactor casings. So we should end up with a nice hollow cube. And then if you want, you can make the floor. I mean, you can make any side, the reactor casings too. The if you want part is actually the reactor glass. So you can put these in as the walls. If you wanted to, you could use the reactor casings, but it just looks a little nicer to use glass. I've also just realized I made this 8x7 instead. Whoops. Now we can fill up the sides with reactor glass. Also, I was wrong about the enriched iron pattern. It only makes 1 per piece of coal. Coal only adds 10 millibuckets of fluid. Now that we have this all built up, gotta get the ceiling in though. We also need to get the control rods and fission assemblies in. We'll need half as many of these as you do the floor space, I think. Don't quote me on that. If we have 25 spaces here, we'll need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 control rod assemblies. And then, however many assemblies you have, you're going to have fuel assemblies coming down all the way from the top. So let me get some of these crafted up so I can show you. So since we have a 5 tall room in here, we'll need 13 times 5 of those, basically. So that would be 65. And then we can get all of these into place. We're going to break the glass on the roof and get all of these guys into place. Just want to space them out so that they are all diagonal from each other. And then once we have all of those fission fuel assemblies, we're just going to get those and place them all the way from the bottom of the control rods and get them down to the base. So just like that on each one until we're all filled up. Cool. So that should be the reactor for the most part built up. We now need to work on the inputs and outputs of this reactor. So for that, we'll need these fission reactor ports. We'll need 4 of these in total, I believe. We also need the configurator tool from Mekanism so that we can actually go into these and set them properly. So by default, it's going to be set to input. If we shift right click, we can change this either to output the waste, to output the coolant. Yeah, those are the 2 things we're going to get out of this. 2 more of these guys on the back. So I guess these 2 in the back, I'll have be the output. So this one will output waste, or maybe this one will output the coolant. That's just going to go into a trash can anyway. And then this one can output waste. Then these 2 are both going to be the inputs. Oh, I was wrong. Do not listen to anything I say. All of these need to go down 1 layer. They do not take up any glass space at all. So yeah, don't break any of the glass, like I said. I'm a liar. Don't follow this as a tutorial, please. Ever. So these are all going to go down inside the reactor instead, which would explain why it wasn't turning on. There we go. Now we can interact with it. We're not going to activate this yet. We need to work on actually getting the input for this, which is going to be fissile fuel made in the isotopic centrifuge. So let's start getting that together. Gonna make a recipe for these quantum entangleporters. What these quantum entangleporters do is... Oh, missing some essence. I make 1 at least, please. Anyway, I'll get to that in a minute when I can make them. Oh, we also need the isotopic centrifuge. That's gonna be... I'm gonna work backwards on this one. What this is gonna do is take uranium hexafluoride and turn it into fissile fuel. So that will be the first input once I can get these going. So we'll get one of these entangleporters and get it next to this. Make sure that the right side is set to input. We can clear all this actually. Or do we need gases? Not items. Ah, so confusing. You have to go to gases tab and then make sure that this is set to input. And then we'll need 1 more for the output, or 2 more. We'll need a bunch of these because the output is going to go to the left. So then we'll have 1 of these as the output, and then this is going to go into the input of the fission reactor. Probably want some mechanism pipes for this. In these entangleporters, we can set the name or the frequency to what it's going to be transporting. So this one is going to be transporting that fissile fuel as the output. So we're going to set this to fissile fuel. And then in the input for this one, we can take this, click fissile fuel and set it. And then we can have this output to the fission reactor, if that makes sense at all. Not probably great at explaining things. That's all good. This one is going to be inputting uranium hexafluoride. I believe hexa is 6. So it's going to be UF6. Uranium hexafluoride. There we go. Alright, now, that is made in the chemical infuser with uranium oxide and hydrofluoric acid. So let's get one of these infusers going. And this is different than the metallurgic infuser. Yeah, so this is the next one we'll set up. So we'll need 3 entangleporters for this. Okay, this is going to output UF6. Let's set that. And then it's going to input. Let's do in the back maybe. Then make sure we configure everything. So output, input 1, input 2. Input 1 is going to be hydrofluoric acid, which is just hydrogen fluoride. And the second one is going to be uranium oxide, which is UO2. Oxide means 2. Pay attention in chemistry class, kids. So that should take care of that. Now we just need to work on making both of these. Hydrofluoric acid is made with sulfuric acid and fluorite in the chemical dissolution chamber. Fun. It just keeps going. We have some fluorite, and we can make C's out of this to get it nice and easy. We can get that fluorite into this with a export bus and a crafting card. Gonna move this to the back of it to make it look a little nicer. And then we need sulfuric acid. This one's gonna be easy. It's just sulfur dust into... Oh, geez, maybe I'm wrong. Oh, man. Sulfuric acid, chemical infuser, sulfur trioxide, and water vapor. Sulfur trioxide, another chemical infuser, oxygen, and sulfur dioxide. Where am I going to put all of these? And then sulfur dioxide is made by oxidizing sulfur dust. Chemical oxidizer, sulfur dust. Do I have sulfur? Probably. Just need seeds. Yay. Alright, so I've managed to get some sulfur seeds. So for our sulfur, we just need to take a chemical dissolution chamber and import that with our ME system. This guy in the back will enter sulfur dust, I think. Oh, I'm wrong. You need the chemical oxidizer. And we should start getting some sulfur in here, which is going to turn this into sulfur dioxide. This sulfur dioxide will go into a quantum entangleporter. And then this will go into a chemical infuser. That sulfur dioxide. All this configuration is so crazy. You have to make sure you have auto eject turned on these porters too. And we have sulfur dioxide in here. Jeez. Then we also need to get oxygen in here, which is going to come from separating water into hydrogen and oxygen. We'll need that hydrogen too. This is done in an electrolytic separator. Oh, geez. So this guy should be able to use a sink to just input some water, and it will start separating that water into hydrogen and oxygen. Forgot all of these need power as well. We want to make sure that both of these buttons down at the bottom are set to dump any excess gas that comes out of this. Since the ratio is different, we don't have to worry about like how much oxygen each machine is using, and so that we don't back up on hydrogen. We want this oxygen to output, and this is going to be the second output in this selection here. Set that one, and then we'll have this input into the other input for the chemical infuser, making sure that the entangle porter can actually output and auto eject. And this should start making some sulfur trioxide. Next, we're going to need to combine this with water vapor to get sulfuric acid. Water vapor is made in the decondensator. How do you make that? Oh, it's because it's called the rotary condensator. This guy will again use a sink with some water. And in here, it's going to be set to default to condense water vapor into water. But we want to toggle this the other way around so that it will start making the water vapor instead. And we'll just set up a entangle porter for this. Then we just need a chemical infuser that's going to combine sulfur trioxide and water vapor. So this should be inputting sulfur trioxide and water vapor now to make sulfuric acid. Then we can take sulfuric acid and put it into the chemical dissolution chamber to get that fluorite melted down. Now we have hydrofluoric acid, and the last step is going to be to combine this with uranium oxide. So for this we'll need another chemical oxidizer and an enrichment chamber. Had to make some more room for this, but this guy can go down here where we'll get our enrichment chamber set up. This is going to input uranium, which I believe we should have already, if I'm not mistaken. I might be mistaken. Oh, we do. I just didn't have the pattern for it. Duh. This will produce yellow cake uranium, and now we just need this to go in a chemical oxidizer, which I believe that we can just output this to this, so that this will get input and start processing into uranium oxide. That should take care of that. our hydrofluoric acid needs to get output as well. And just to set all of the inputs right and everything, and we should be good. There we go. We're making uranium hexafluoride, which is going to go in the isotopic centrifuge as the last step. And we get fissile fuel. All of that fissile fuel is going to go into here, and that is going to end up in the fission reactor. So you can see right now we are climbing up the fissile fuel. This shows that we're producing 1 fissile fuel millibucket per tick, which is honestly not bad. We just have to keep an eye on everything. We can put speed upgrades and power upgrades and everything to make them faster. But yeah, we are producing fissile fuel, and we should be good to get this reactor going now. So I went ahead and put speed upgrades on everything. What is that noise? How do I get rid of it? Enrichment chamber. Done. No, it's still going. That one. There we go. So I think we're producing fissile fuel faster. It's still kind of sad because of the sulfuric acid situation. I just cannot. I don't have nearly enough sulfur. I had to make like so many more seeds, and we're still not producing enough. I'm gonna have to make more machines and more seeds and everything, or find a different way to make sulfur. But we can get this thing going now. I first need to set up these logic adapters though, to make sure that this machine does not activate when it's not able to, or it will deactivate when it needs to. Otherwise, it's gonna explode everywhere, and we don't want that. So for these logic adapters, we have 4 in the back here. These all have different conditions that each one will check to see, like insufficient fuel, for example, or if the temperature is too high. If that becomes the case, it will output a redstone signal, and I use these redstone links for these. So you can see right now it has insufficient fuel, so this one is turned on. And we're going to link all of these to the same frequency, and then in the front I have one for activation, so that if any of these redstone signals are turned on, this one in the front will be turned off, I think. We're going to set this to receive mode and put that on the same frequency. Okay, so this turns on. So we want this to be inverted. So this should not be on right now. If this is turned on, this should be off, right? I think that's how that should work. We may need to do something different. Okay, to solve our redstone issue, we're going to have this output into a repeater. All the frequencies coming from those redstone logic things. So that'll go out to a repeater, which will go into a redstone torch, which should turn off. And then this one is the one that will power the logic adapter. So let's set this one to a different frequency. Set this to receive mode. Oops. And there we go. This should be off right now. Now, if we start getting some fuel and everything in here, gonna make sure our outputs are all good first. We do need to input water into this port on the side, and that should start filling up there. In the back, we want the fluid output to go into a trash can, and then the waste output is going to go down below. We need to carry this into some nuclear waste bins. What are these called? Radioactive waste barrels. There we go. We do need gas pipes for this, so this is going to come out here and go all the way down below our base. Just because we don't want to store these near anything where these could like mess up, because they can produce some radioactivity, and we definitely don't want that. Let's connect all these up, and that should take care of our waste storage. So if we come in here, make sure this is inputting fissile fuel now. Ah, this needs to be a gas pipe as well. Oh, it turned on. Okay, please don't explode. I think we're good. Heck yeah. We're good on fissile fuel, it seems. I think it's actually going up. Right now, we're producing 0.1 millibucket of nuclear waste per tick. I will probably be able to increase this if we're able to produce enough fissile fuel. I need to turn this off as well. It's really loud. Jeez. To increase that, we go into the stats here and set the rate limit a little higher. We can probably set this to like 0.5 maybe. Let's see what that does. Just have to keep an eye on how much fissile fuel we're producing. I think I need to increase the steam output as well. Give this a pipe upgrade. Make sure no backlog is going in there. This steam one also needs to be a gas pipe. That's why. That should get rid of that. And then our nuclear waste should start going out into those nuclear waste barrels down below. Our temperature is looking good and everything is running smoothly. So long as we're producing enough fissile fuel. I can probably even increase this further. It's really hard to tell how much we're able to handle. I'm just going to stick to 0.5 for now. But if we go down below now to our nuclear waste barrels, we should see these guys start to fill up with some nuclear waste. Beautiful. These will slowly decay over time as well, so it's not just gonna hold them forever. But next we need to take all of that nuclear waste and start producing polonium and plutonium from them, and this is going to be a whole different ordeal, so I think we're going to save that for next episode. I think we made really good progress today through mekanism. So next episode we will finish this out all the way to getting antimatter, and then we can be done with mekanism. This mod is so complicated. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for today's episode. I would super quickly like to give a huge shout out to my first ever Patreon supporter. I actually don't know where I should put this. How about right here? So a huge special shout out to Cadges, or I don't know how you say your name, but thank you so much for the extra support. It means everything, and now you're permanently there. So I guess with that, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.